Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi Night Light. I'm your host, Sebastian Venel Martinez. So, as many of you know, this is a different segment of a show which is just basically my opportunity to talk about random topics that relate to sci-fi and horror. What's in store for today's episode? Dracula. Dracula is without a doubt the most famous vampire of all time. Not only that, but he also happens to be one of the most famous villains ever.
I am Dracula.
Dracula first showed up in the novel by Bram Stoker, a character that was loosely based on Vlad the Impaler. Dracula has since shown up in over 70 films throughout the years. 70! Isn't that insane? In fact, there are so many Dracula movies that some of these actually needed to use the year of a movie being released to distinguish itself from the bunch. Because with the sheer scale of the amount of Dracula movies out there, I guess that's as good a way as any. So, let's start off in chronological order with Dracula AD 1972. Because, we wouldn't want to think of this as Dracula 1972 BC. Way before the character himself was actually written, but whatever. So, in this Hammer horror Dracula film starring the legendary Christopher Lee, Dracula gets brought back to life and starts hunting down the descendants of his nemesis Van Helsing. All with a kind of a 70s groove going on.
He's waiting to freak you out. Right out of this world.
We'll have to fast forward to the new millennium for the next dated Dracula title with Dracula 2000. A title that just sounds stupid. I'm sorry, but with that title you get the impression that we're doing some kind of young, hip Dracula. Which I guess in some ways they kind of were, but without actually knowing it. After all, take a look at the Dracula in this movie. Look familiar? What about now?
This is Sparta!
Yep, in this film Dracula is played by none other than Gerard Butler, but it's actually kind of hard to notice. Next up is a TV movie that technically just has the super original title Dracula, but it's heavily marketed as Dracula 2009. After all, just check out this poster. In this film, Dracula is in Los Angeles of all places. To do what, you ask? Well, this is a quote, "to drain Hollywood of blood." However, it seems that Hollywood was drained of decent actors for this flop.
Count Dracula.
Dracula? You're kidding.
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
Yeah, this movie doesn't really star anyone you've ever heard of, and it's barely memorable aside from being really, really bad.
You fuck my wife.
Yes, I did.
What the fuck is this?
Our next movie comes all the way from India, going under the title Dracula 2012, and it was actually released in 3D. Dracula 2012 3D? I don't know, that's just way too many numbers for one title. Either way, I haven't seen this film, but I'm not a big fan of musicals, so hopefully this film keeps the choreographed dance sequences to a minimal. However, the film is 2 hours and 17 minutes long, so I'm actually not sure about that, and... oh, there we go. We end this video on a high note. Not in terms of high quality, but as in I think the writers and producers were really high when they came up with this idea. Dracula in space. Yeah, going by the title Dracula 3000 and starring acting Goliaths like Casper Van Dien and Coolio, this cheesy B film is actually from 2004 but takes place almost 1,000 years in the future. Everything in this movie is horribly cheesy. Van Dien plays Captain Abraham Van Helsing, and Dracula is transported from the Transylvania space station. Yeah, not a whole lot of subtlety used in this film. So, that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi Night. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, I'm your host, Sebastian Venel Martinez, and I'm signing out.